Family, let me tell you something. When a woman decides to love herself first, that's when the real rise begins. Too often women have been conditioned to pour into everyone else, to put themselves last, to sacrifice their joy just to keep the peace. But what happens when she chooses herself? What happens when she says, I am worthy, I am valuable, and I am enough? That's when you witness the rise of a queen who finally sits on her throne. Self-love sets the foundation. A house built on shaky ground won't stand. The same goes for a woman's life. If she doesn't love herself, every relationship, every dream, every goal will be unstable. Self-love is not arrogance, it is self-respect. It is knowing your worth and refusing to discount yourself for anyone. Boundaries are the language of self-respect. When a woman learns to say no, she protects her peace. People may call it selfish, but it's sacred. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. Without them, you'll find yourself drained, misused, and overlooked. But when you stand firm, you attract people who value and honor you. Healing comes before helping. Too many women try to fix broken men, broken homes, and broken situations without first healing their own hearts. But hear me, you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you take the time to heal, to forgive yourself, and to release the past, you rise stronger and wiser. Purpose is discovered through self-love. When a woman loves herself, she no longer seeks validation from the world. She starts asking deeper questions. Why am I here? What is my gift? What impact was I created to make? Self-love awakens purpose. And once purpose is found, she becomes unstoppable. The right love will meet her where she is. Here's the truth. When a woman truly loves herself, she no longer chases love. She doesn't settle for breadcrumbs. She becomes whole, and in that wholeness, she attracts a partner who adds, not subtracts. Real love recognizes real love, but it starts within. Her rise inspires generations. A woman who loves herself is not just rising for herself, she is breaking cycles. She is teaching her daughters what worth looks like and showing her sons how to respect women. Her rise is bigger than her. It's a legacy. Family, hear me. The rise of a woman who loved herself first is the rise of a woman who refused to stay broken, who chose healing over hurting, who chose peace over chaos, and who chose purpose over approval. That kind of woman doesn't just rise, she reigns. When you look at the life of a woman who hasn't yet learned to love herself, you often see a pattern. She gives and gives, hoping that someone will finally give back to her in the same way. She bends, she sacrifices, she accepts less than she deserves, because deep down she doesn't know what she is truly worth. But the day she realizes that self-love is not about being selfish, it is about survival, everything begins to change. Self-love is the foundation upon which every other part of life is built. Without it, nothing else stands strong. Think about it. If you build a house on sand, no matter how beautiful the design, no matter how expensive the materials, eventually the storm comes and the house crumbles. The same is true for a woman's life. Without self-love as her foundation, every relationship, every dream, and every goal will collapse under pressure. Self-love teaches her to honor herself the same way she honors everyone else. Too often, women have been trained to believe that their worth is measured by how much they do for others, how much they endure, and how quiet they remain about their own needs. But that mindset only leads to exhaustion and emptiness. When a woman starts to love herself, she flips the script. She no longer sees herself as the last priority. She recognizes that by filling her own cup first, she can pour into others with strength and clarity, not with resentment or fatigue. She finally understands that self-love is the soil where her confidence, her peace, and her happiness grow. And when she builds that foundation, her entire life shifts. She starts to walk differently. Her conversations change. The way she carries herself commands respect without her ever having to demand it. Opportunities start opening up, not because the world suddenly became kinder, but because she finally positioned herself to receive better. Self-love gives her the courage to walk away from what doesn't serve her and to walk boldly into what was meant for her. It's important to see that self-love doesn't mean she has it all together every single day. It doesn't mean she never doubts herself or never feels weak. It simply means that even in her lowest moments, she knows she is worthy of getting back up. She knows she deserves forgiveness from herself. She knows she deserves patience, grace, and compassion. She knows she doesn't have to prove her value to anyone because her value is already built in. That's why I say self-love is the foundation. Without it, a woman is like a house without a frame. She can decorate it, she can paint it, but one strong wind will knock it down. But with self-love, she is unshakable, she is rooted, she is whole, and no matter what life throws at her, she will rise again, because she finally understands who she is and what she's worth. When a woman learns the power of boundaries, her entire life begins to transform. For too long, many women have been taught that saying yes is the path to being loved, accepted, or appreciated. They have been conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to how much they can endure or how much they can give away. But what usually happens is that she pours out until she has nothing left, while those around her continue to take. And when she finally feels empty, she realizes that the people she has been sacrificing for are often the same people who rarely considered her needs. That's why boundaries are so important, because they are not walls to shut people out, but doors that regulate what enters her life. Saying no is not rejection, it is protection. When a woman begins to say no to what drains her, she simultaneously says yes to her peace, her health, and her growth. At first, people may not understand. They might call her selfish or accuse her of changing. But what they are really seeing is a woman who refuses to be used or taken for granted. Boundaries force people to either rise to the level of respect she deserves or remove themselves from her space. And either outcome is a win for her. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. Without them, people will assume you are fine with whatever they choose to give you, even if it's the bare minimum. But when a woman sets clear boundaries, she communicates her value without ever having to shout it. She doesn't have to beg for respect. Her actions demand it. If she says she will not accept disrespect, she follows through by walking away when it happens. If she says her time is valuable, she no longer spends it with people who waste it. This is how self-respect translates into daily life, through the boundaries she enforces consistently. The beautiful thing about boundaries is that they are not just about keeping the wrong people out. They are about making space for the right people to come in. When a woman holds firm to her standards, she naturally attracts relationships, friendships, and opportunities that align with her worth. The ones who truly love her will adjust and respect those boundaries. The ones who are only there to take advantage will fall away. It may hurt at first, but over time she realizes that losing people who never valued her was not a loss. It was freedom. With boundaries in place, she starts to breathe easier. Her peace is protected. Her mind is clearer. She has more energy for her purpose because she is no longer drained by situations she was never meant to carry. And slowly she begins to realize that boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges. Bridges that carry her from the life she once endured to the life she truly deserves. One of the biggest mistakes many women make is believing they can heal others while they are still carrying their own unhealed wounds. It comes from a good place, wanting to nurture, wanting to help, wanting to love someone back to wholeness. But the truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give peace while you are battling chaos inside. You cannot guide someone out of darkness when you're still trying to find your own light. Healing yourself first is not optional, it is essential. Without it, you end up carrying the weight of everyone else's struggles on top of your own, and that burden will break you down. A woman who hasn't healed often finds herself repeating the same cycles. She chooses partners who reflect her unhealed pain. She tolerates treatment that mirrors her brokenness, and she accepts far less than she deserves. Why? Because pain attracts pain, and brokenness seeks familiarity. When she finally makes the decision to heal, everything around her begins to shift. She starts to see clearly the situation she once excused. She notices the red flags she used to overlook. Healing opens her eyes to what is healthy and what is harmful. Healing is not an overnight process. It requires patience, honesty, and courage. It means confronting the past instead of burying it. It means forgiving herself for mistakes she made when she didn't know better. It means releasing guilt, shame, and bitterness that have been poisoning her spirit. And while it may be painful, that pain is part of the cleansing. Just like a wound must be cleaned before it can close, the heart must be exposed before it can heal. When a woman prioritizes her healing, she becomes stronger not just for herself, but for everyone connected to her. The love she gives becomes healthier because it no longer comes from a place of desperation or fear. She no longer loves in hopes of being validated. She loves because she is whole, and that wholeness overflows. Instead of trying to rescue someone else, she learns how to inspire them by example. Instead of trying to fix what's broken in others, she focuses on keeping herself whole and steady. And from that place of strength, she naturally uplifts those around her. Healing also allows her to dream again. Pain has a way of clouding vision, making her believe she is stuck, making her feel like her best days are behind her. But healing reminds her that her story is not over. It clears the fog and restores hope. It gives her the strength to set new goals and the courage to walk in her purpose. The truth is, when a woman heals herself first, she doesn't just change her life, she changes the lives of everyone connected to her. Her children feel it, her relationships reflect it, and her legacy carries it. Healing herself first is not selfish, it is the most powerful gift she can give to the world. When a woman learns to love herself, she awakens a part of her that has been buried under years of doubt, comparison, and outside opinions. She no longer lives just to be accepted or validated by others. She stops asking, "Am I good enough for them?" and begins asking, "Am I living true to myself?" That's the turning point, because love creates clarity, and clarity leads to purpose. When a woman loves herself, she begins to see that she was not created to live in survival mode, always shrinking, always settling. She was created with a reason, with gifts, and with an assignment that only she can fulfill. Too often, women chase love, attention, or approval from people who don't even see their true value. They mold themselves into what others expect, losing sight of their own dreams. But when she falls in love with herself, she stops chasing and starts choosing. She chooses peace over chaos. She chooses growth over comfort. She chooses authenticity over pretending. And in that choosing, her purpose begins to reveal itself. She starts noticing what makes her soul come alive, what passions won't let her sleep, what burdens her heart in a way that pushes her to take action. That is purpose speaking, and she can finally hear it because she silenced the noise of trying to please everyone else. Self-love opens her eyes to the fact that her worth is not tied to her relationship status, her job title, or her social circle. Her worth is built in. That realization allows her to move differently. She no longer waits for someone to give her permission to step into her calling. She gives herself permission. She no longer hides her voice. She speaks boldly, knowing that her words carry weight. She no longer questions if she's ready. She understands that purpose doesn't wait for perfection. It begins when you take the first step. As she walks in that purpose, she discovers strength she didn't know she had. She begins to attract opportunities aligned with her gifts, and she finds fulfillment in contributing to something greater than herself. Purpose transforms her from simply existing to truly living. It gives meaning to her struggles, turning her pain into wisdom and her setbacks into testimonies. Every challenge she overcame becomes a tool to help someone else. Every scar becomes proof of her resilience. And here's the beauty. When a woman lives in her purpose, she inspires others to do the same. She becomes a light to those still searching in the dark. She shows her sisters, her daughters, and even the men around her what it looks like when a woman rises with self-love and refuses to shrink back. Her life becomes a message that you don't have to wait for someone else to tell you who you are. You find out who you are when you love yourself enough to pursue what you were created to do. That's why self-love and purpose are connected. Without self-love, she doubts. With self-love, she discovers. And once she discovers her purpose, there is nothing and no one that can stop her rise. When a woman truly learns to love herself, she no longer chases after love as if it is something outside of her that she has to earn or beg for. She begins to understand that real love is not found by lowering her standards, silencing her voice, or shrinking into a smaller version of herself just to be chosen. Instead, she realizes that love is something that should meet her where she is whole, worthy, and already complete. Self-love shifts her perspective. She no longer looks at a partner as someone who will complete her. She already knows she is complete. She looks for someone who will complement her, someone who adds to her peace rather than subtracts from it, someone who brings joy rather than drama. Before self-love, it is easy for a woman to confuse attention with affection or passion with love. She may settle for breadcrumbs of affection, hoping one day it will turn into a full loaf. She may excuse mistreatment because she fears being alone. But when she loves herself, her standards rise. She no longer accepts inconsistency or excuses. She knows that being alone and at peace is far better than being in a relationship that drains her spirit. That shift is powerful because it saves her from years of unnecessary heartbreak and disappointment. When self-love is in place, she becomes magnetic in a different way. She is not chasing, she is attracting. She radiates confidence and wholeness, and people can feel that energy. The right person recognizes her light and wants to honor it, not dim it. The wrong person sees that same light and either runs away or tries to take advantage. But the difference now is she no longer allows access to those who can't handle her value. Her boundaries and her self-respect protect her from being pulled back into unhealthy cycles, and when the right love does come, it finds her ready, not desperate, not needy, but prepared. She knows what love is supposed to feel like because she has been practicing it with herself all along. Love should feel safe, not stressful. It should feel uplifting, not draining. It should feel mutual, not one-sided. Because she loves herself first, she can now discern the difference. She doesn't settle for mixed signals. She doesn't confuse chaos with chemistry. She can tell the difference between someone who is consistent and someone who is just convenient. The beauty is that the love she receives from the right partner is no longer about filling a void. It's about building together. Because she's already whole, the relationship becomes a place of growth instead of a place of survival. The right love celebrates her strength, respects her boundaries, and supports her purpose. And she, in turn, can love fully without fear because she knows that even if the relationship ends her foundation, her self-love remains unshaken. That's the rise of a woman who loves herself first. She no longer chases, she attracts. She no longer settles, she chooses. And the love she accepts reflects the love she has already found within. When a woman rises by choosing to love herself first, her growth does not stop with her. What begins as a personal decision quickly becomes a generational shift. She may think she is simply healing her own heart, but in reality, she is rewriting the story for everyone connected to her. The moment she decides that she is worthy of respect, her daughters learn what respect looks like. The moment she refuses to accept less than she deserves, her sons learn how to treat women with honor. Her rise becomes a living lesson for her family, her friends, and even strangers who are quietly watching her journey. So many women grow up in cycles of pain, cycles of settling, cycles of abuse, cycles of silence. They watch the women before them carry burdens they were never meant to carry. But when one woman breaks the cycle, she proves that it can be done. She proves that you don't have to repeat the past, you don't have to be defined by your upbringing, and you don't have to stay in the patterns that once held you down. Her rise gives others permission to rise too. What makes her rise so powerful is that it is not loud or boastful. It is often quiet, steady, and consistent. She doesn't need to announce that she is changing. People can see it in how she carries herself. They notice her peace, her boundaries, her confidence, and her joy. And even those who once criticized her begin to respect her, because they can no longer deny the fruit of her growth. Her rise also impacts the way she loves others. Because she has filled herself with love first, she pours into others from a place of overflow, not emptiness. Her children grow up feeling secure because they see love modeled in a healthy way. Her relationships are healthier because she no longer accepts toxicity. Her community benefits because she uses her strength and wisdom to encourage those who are still finding their way. She becomes a lighthouse, steady, unmovable, and guiding others out of their storms. But perhaps the most beautiful part of her rise is the legacy she leaves behind. Years from now, her story will still speak. People will say she was the one who chose differently, she was the one who broke the cycle, she was the one who showed us what self-love really looks like. And because of her example, the next generation will start higher than she did. They won't have to unlearn as much because she already laid a new foundation. That is the power of one woman's rise. It creates ripples that go far beyond her lifetime. When a woman loves herself first, her rise is not just personal, it's generational, it's cultural, it's spiritual. She doesn't just rise for herself, she rises for everyone connected to her, and her strength becomes a gift to the world. Family, hear me clearly. When a woman makes the choice to love herself first, she becomes unstoppable. She is no longer bound by her past, no longer limited by who didn't see her worth, and no longer dependent on someone else to complete her. She sets a foundation of self-love, she builds walls of boundaries, she heals the wounds she once tried to hide. She discovers a purpose that pulls her forward, she attracts a love that honors her, and she leaves a legacy that will echo for generations. That is the rise of a woman who decided she was enough all along. This rise is not about perfection, it's about progression. It's not about having all the answers, it's about asking the right questions. And it's not about waiting for someone else to choose her, it's about choosing herself every single day. Because when she chooses herself, she teaches the world how to treat her. When she values herself, she sets the standard for every relationship, every opportunity, and every door that opens in her life. So to every woman listening, I say this: stop waiting for someone to crown you. You were born a queen. Stop waiting for someone else to validate you. Your worth was written into your being before you ever took your first breath. And stop thinking that love from others will fix what's broken inside, because the greatest love story you will ever live is the one you write with yourself. And to the men listening, hear this too. When a woman rises because she loves herself first, the world becomes better. Strong women raise strong families. Healed women create healed generations. Whole women build whole communities. Support that rise, respect it, celebrate it, because the rise of a woman who loved herself first is not just her victory, it is all of ours. And once she rises, nothing and no one will ever be able to keep her down again.